from Andre Talmadge. With our potential cap space next year, how realistic and how effective would a backcourt of Ball and Oladipo be? Because if Lonzo Ball, Victor Oladipo, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson doesn't have Leon Rose written all over it.
I hope it doesn't have Leon Rose written all over it. In terms of is it realistic, it's not real. I don't think it's realistic because if we're talking, it's not
the other.
Well, if we're talking just trying to sign both of those players, so that means you're signing both in free agency, which means for trading. Victor Oladipo, you need to the Pelicans will have restricted rights, and you need to make that a sizable offer, which I'm guessing is going to start in the neighborhood of, I mean, unless he just really, shits the bed for the rest of the season, that offer is going to be north of $13 million. I mean, it has to be. Or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, let's say 12 million, right? And then Victor Oladipo, you're going to need to pay at least 30. The Knicks to get him to actually come here, because I think he wants to go elsewhere. And if you're going to get him on board, you're going to have to overpay. Right. So they would not have the cap space to do that unless they moved a little bit of money. That said,
if they traded for Lonzo before the deadline, signed Oladipo, and then went over the cap to re-sign Lonzo?
It would have to involve some kind of chicanery. Chicanery. I love that word. It really is one of my favorites. Actually, wait a minute. Hold on.
Some good finagling.
Wait a minute.
I used finagling in a LaMelo article one time for SI, and that was like my magnum opus.
Hold on. They actually may have the cap space. I'm sorry. I think I misspoke because even with some minimum salary slots, and even if you assume a couple of rookie salary slots. Sorry, I'm doing some quick math. I think it would be really tight. It would be tight, but let's assume that they have the cap space. So then the next question about it being realistic would be, does Leon Rose think that is a wise expenditure of assets or wise expenditure of money? Goodness gracious. What do you think? I'm at a loss here.
Like
part of me thinks
it is realistic.
Because I don't know where the team is that's going to be dying to pay Lonzo Ball whatever it is, $13, $14, $15 million a year, with what he's shown over the course of his career. And
would Charlotte entertain?
Oh, come on now. I mean, I that would be something. He could walk into a starting job with the Knicks easily. They could draft whatever, Kispert, Moody.
With our coaching staff, they can have him as our starting PG. I think.
They would. But that's the thing I think this is one of those things where, when somebody wants something in the NBA, they usually find a way to get it if they have enough clout. And crazy as it sounds to say, I think the Ball family is like, do you want to deal with that fucking nut job? Being unhappy and causing a ruckus. If he knows that he could put his kid in a starting point guard job for the New York Knicks, man, that might be tempting. I think that's more likely than Oladipo. And the reason I think it's more likely than Oladipo is
Miami.
I just finished a whole, you're not going to like this because I know you're a big fan of Oladipo, and I know we've talked about Oladipo in the past, and I too am a big fan of the idea of a fully healthy, fully actualized, being his best self version of Oladipo. And I just spent the last hour and a half or so, maybe more, before coming on this podcast, digging into the numbers of the actual Victor Oladipo. that we have seen now for quite some time. And let me tell you, they're not good. They're really bad.
Prez is the one who says tall Fred VanVleet, right? And
yeah, but I think that's insulting to Fred VanVleet, because Fred VanVleet is whatever he is from his career from three. Let me ask you this question. I went into Basketball Reference and I added up the totals from his other seasons myself before. What do you think, Victor Oladipo, if you take away the one season in Indiana where he made the All-NBA team, and you looked at all of his other shots for the rest of his career, what do you think he's shooting from 3-point range, and what do you think he's shooting from 2-point range? If you take away that one season.
42-31.
So you're actually a little low. He's at...
I went a little low to not... because I could smell the low numbers coming.
He is at 34.2% on threes, which is a couple percentage points below league average. And he's 46.7% on twos, with a ton of those being taken, close to the basket and around the rim and the whole thing. And you look at his numbers this year with Houston, 34% on threes, 46% on twos. And it's like, oh, wow, that kind of lines up with his career numbers. He really does not. He will go into the paint sometimes. He averages around the same amount of drives per minute as RJ Barrett. But he's not great on them. He's no better than Barrett, and Barrett still has his issues, when he gets to the rim. He's getting better now with the turning those drives into short mid-rangers, as our friend Tom Piccolo did a nice video on Twitter today. But in short, I just the fact that there's so many red flags, and the fact that you're going to need to give this guy, I really do think you're going to need to give him the minimum of the Hayward contract to get him to stay. Minimum, bare minimum. And maybe that doesn't even get it done. Maybe he just has his heart set on going to Miami. So that's really frightening, to get yourself into that situation if you're the Knicks, where you're like, shit, is this, if you're Leon Rose, you have played it so patiently for a year and a half, it will have been at the point where they would have to make this decision on free agency for Oladipo, whether they trade for him or not, right? You've been so patient. Is that really where you want to cash in your chips? Because if that's where you want to cash in your chips, that means you're essentially boxing yourself into, you're saying, all right, I got to re-sign Julius Randle now, and that's my team. It's RJ, it's Julius, and it's Victor Oladipo. Where is that getting? Really, where is that getting me? And I don't know if that's, because here's the last thing I'm going to say, and this I think you'll like. We know what this is all about, right? We know the guy that they really want. You tweet his picture all the fucking time. I think he's still in your header, right?
He's still my header.
He's still your
header. Depot, who on this team is getting us him? Depot, Obi, first rounders for an expiring.
So that's
Devin
the
Booker.
thing. That's
one of these with Worldwide West, and then extend.
That's what I'm saying is Victor Oladipo on basically a max contract, I think could look really, really bad in a year or two. Really, really bad. And I don't know that Leon Rose wants to sign a deal. That's why he was willing to sign Hayward to what he was willing to sign Hayward to. And that's why when Mark Stein reported later that the Knicks were ultimately willing to go to a fourth year, I believe it, because I believe it would have been something like 4 for $100 with a fourth year that was partially guaranteed. That, again, I'm not reporting that. That is my guess. I know that they offered 3 for $70, and I think Stein reported that as well. And that's because you could move that contract. If Gordon Hayward comes here and he doesn't play that well, you could still get off that money. I'm not so sure you could get off of 4 years and $120-something million to Victor Oladipo if he comes in and he continues shooting, quite frankly, like he's shooting right now. So, man, I don't. I know it's the thing that's right there. I don't think that's the move. Unless he wants to come here for cheaper than we think, or less years than we think. But I doubt it.
I just think I'm not it's not the Depot team that I'm in love with. It's just compared to our other transition options, I think Depot, RJ, Randall, until Randall expires, you can trade Depot, go over the cap, trade Depot for Booker, sign if you can get Embiid. Like I'm getting crazy here in 2024.
You're getting crazy.
If you can get Booker and Embiid and then get your complimentary guys and go over the cap to extend Barrett, or Booker, complimentary guys over the cap to extend Barrett, like that.
Here's the thing that I'll say.
This coaching staff with Victor Oladipo, that's the thing. Like, it's not like we're the Knicks, but we're not the Knicks. Like,
but here's the thing. Nobody wanted to come here this summer. Fred VanVleet looked at them and they said, I don't even care what you have in the bag. I don't even want to open the bag. I don't even want to look in the bag. Keep the bag. I have no interest. Gordon Hayward used us to get more money from Charlotte. Like, that's where things were this summer. Now, all of a sudden, we have a coach who has proven that he could turn chicken shit into chicken salad. And if you're a guy who wants to get his numbers, he's going to come. You come here and you'll get you some numbers under Tom Thibodeau. You'll look really good, and you'll be part of a winning team. So I think all of those players that maybe normally would not have looked our way last summer, and so you're like, okay, well, who are the players? I'm not talking about any headlining guys because we know that there aren't those caliber of players out there in the market other than Kawhi Leonard. But like, I think they may be able to get a lower level guy just as a stopgap. Like, I'm going to throw a name out there just for shits and giggles. Like Kyle Lowry.
Oh,
what?
All right.
Kyle Lowry.
From the way you introduced it, I was going to guess Spencer Dinwiddie.
So Kyle Lowry is a free agent this summer. Mike Conley is a free agent this
Conley?
summer.
Trent, Fournier, Dinwiddie, Oladipo,
I'm not the
Conley,
biggest.
Lowry. That's like my whole free agent watch list. I feel like
I'm not the biggest fan of this player, but Dennis Schroeder is a free agent.
No.
What?
Nope.
Just throwing it out there.
Nope.
Listen,
He played with Chris Paul, and now he's playing with. He played with Chris Paul, and now he's playing with LeBron James. And every year besides that, we all thought he was dog shit. No.
Listen, he would not be my first, second, or third, or probably fourth or fifth choice.
I would really hope not.
He would not be.
He's not good.
I don't agree with that.
I'm saying like
Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham is going to be a restricted free agent. We mentioned Lonzo Ball. Like,
I'll put Graham in the same bucket as Schroeder. Genuine, good basketball players that I don't want to be the guys that we put our stock.
What if we give like? What if we give Lonzo like a 3-year deal? Because I think to sign away a restricted
3
free
for
agent,
50.
Well, no. We talked about this so much this summer, me and Jeremy, and I forget what it is. The rule that you have to sign a player to at least 3 guaranteed years or for an offer sheet. So it has to be. Does it have to be a 2+? Could it be a 2+1? I think it could be a 2. Whatever. Like, they could make an offer to Lonzo Ball that's like, okay, maybe Lonzo Ball isn't our point guard of the future, but we're comfortable with him here this year. And even if it's a 3-year deal, right? Like, we get past this year, and then all of a sudden it's a 2-year deal. Okay. So like they could do that. Like, I think they will. I don't think they're going to feel desperate. I don't think they're going to look at Oladipo and be like, oh shit, if we don't get this guy, we're fucked. I think
I agree with that. I mean, the one thing I've always said when people ask me, what are we going to do? Or what's happening? What do you think is happening at the deadline? Or what do you think is happening with this player? What do you this? My answer always has something to do with how this front office seems to be interested in whatever that will improve this team. They just have their own price that they'll pay for that thing. And they are not going to screw themselves over to get that thing. And that's why, my halftime lives, I've been going, as you know, live at halftime of every Knicks game on Twitter. And one of the points I've made a lot in games like against Denver and against Portland, when we're just playing a team that's definitely better than us, is like, okay, you can't be mad that we're losing this type of game, because if you are and you don't want an albatross contract on the books, then you're not actually mad that we're losing this game. We don't have the talent to be in it. and we didn't screw over our books. So this is where we are. We're losing the game. That's okay. We'll move on from here after this year. We'll add talent.
You're not wrong. And look, there's also the possibility of them trading for an expiring contract. There's always possibilities, and I think they're gonna turn over every stone. Is that the phrase? To try to continue to upgrade the talent, and I think they will. And I also think, again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, I think they have the ability to, or they feel they have the ability to get a diamond in the rough in a draft, because this is now Walt Perrin now is really building quite a resume between Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and Paul Millsap, and I think I'm forgetting someone else from Utah, and now Emmanuel Quickley. Whether that's Perrin completely or a little bit or not at all, I don't know, but it goes on their record. And yes, we have to wait and see with Toppin. That's a big thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to feel pressured. So I guess I would say they'll talk about the longest answer ever. I don't think there's a great chance that it's Depot and Ball.
Yeah. And if it were, though, just for the second part of the question quickly, what would you expect from that type of team?
I think they'd be in the run for a 50-win season. Yeah.
Ball, Depot, Barrett, Randall, Mitch. God, that shooting.
Sure. I think they'd figure it out. I think they'd figure out how to score. And look,
I 40, win like 40, 44.
I think
something like that.
I think they would win close to 50 games. And you mentioned him before, and I just want to say again, Spencer Dinwiddie, absolutely should be a name on their radar this summer. And I know Knicks fans absolutely loathe the guy, but you want to talk about a guy that I'd rather have here for the next several years than Victor Oladipo? Give me Spencer Dinwiddie. I like Spencer Dinwiddie as a player. I think he's a dick, but I like him a lot as a player.
He is very good.
Is that it?
He shows it when he gets the chances to. So.
I think he will. Listen, I trust him to get back to his old self. All right, we did it.
That is the last of our questions.